Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Move podcast, brought to you by OURA Ring each and every day. I'm Lance Armstrong. JB Hager. I started to mess it up. Jeffrey Benedict Hager right here. I said that today, and Tiff was like, is that really his name?
Such a mystery.
It is such a, well, not anymore. Now we know. And handsome over here, George Hincapie.
Why don't you call me by my full name?
George Hincapie.
What about my middle name?
I don't know what is your middle? I think I know your. Remind me.
You think or you know? I mean, that's
no.
how long have we known
Benedict.
each other?
He's Colombian. He might have like 6 names.
Anthony.
Really?
Yeah.
Anthony. George Anthony Hincapie over there. I would not have known that, or wouldn't have remembered it. Anyhow, talking about stage 13, we'll cue our old friend Alain here.
Stage 13, Châtel-Guyon to Puy Mary.
Oh my God, I can't even try that.
One more try.
Yeah, one more time.
Stage 13, Châtel-Guyon to Puy Mary.
Oh, Châteauguyon to. Hey, it is. We'll get into the show here in a sec, but obviously today, September 11th. It's for the Americans listening. This is a major day in our history. You know, and for those not listening, actually, it was for everybody's history, right? It was a time where the world was in shock and disbelief at what happened here in this country. It was just, but shout out to anybody that was affected there, not just on that day, but let's not forget that there was lasting impact, not just from a societal standpoint, but also from a health and wellness standpoint, forever for a lot of people, which I think. It just freaks me out when you think about all the cases of cancer and illness that came out of that, which is so next level bad. But you know, as we say, you know, never forget.
I always get a ton of messages on September 11th on socials because I was working on the radio when that happened, and we told a lot of people. At the time, I was on in Dallas and Austin. And we were the first that told a lot of people. That's where they heard it on their commute in. And it freaks. I always get a ton of messages on this day, but
yeah. And I was here's you know, it's moments like that in history. You always go back and you never forget what you were doing. Luke was 2 years old. We were at home. It was early in the morning, and we were watching Sesame Street. And somebody called me and said, "Are you watching this?" And I'm like, "I'm watching Sesame Street." And they're like, "No, turn on the news channel." And then it just started happening. I mean, it was one of those days and hours that you just never, ever forget. So, And the world has almost just gotten weirder and weirder since then.
It has.
I think. Mm-hmm. Anyhow, like I said, today's show brought to you by OURA Ring. I love this device. Actually, I want to pull up a slide. So our guy that basically makes everything happen here, all this set, everything you see built, for friends of ours, you know, Dave Bolchka, he is the king.
Look at that.
Look at the OURA data for Dave Bolch today.
9
95 on the sleep score. Dave, am I seeing that right? You slept 9 hours and 24 minutes
Wow.
with an average heart rate of 51 beats a minute. I ain't riding with you today. Holy shit. That's incredible. Also, and I've just been going back and forth with Harpreet, the CEO. They're on the verge of announcing another new partnership. We've talked about the partnership with the NBA, WNBA, NASCAR, obviously our fund over at Next Ventures. But and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but they're about to announce a new partnership that's going to be a big deal, right? But that's why, all right? I mean, you don't have a piece of technology like this that's this great where people just don't want to use it and implement it integrate it into their sports, into their team. So stay tuned for that. Head on over to auraring.com, right? Today's show also brought to you by Roca. These are the best. And that Roca was prime time yesterday with Mark Hershey, this kid who's just been trying to win stages every day. You saw his new Matadors front and center. By the way, I would have had to take them off like 10 times because I sweat so much, but the kid never took them off. This is the best shade I've worn in a long time. Best lens, totally customizable, founded by badass athletes, and also great partnerships with, like a good friend of mine, Tim Kennedy, is a complete monster. MMA guy, special forces guy. But these guys, it takes good athletes to know good athletes, right? These boys and girls are totally legit. Head on over to Roka. There's our flow code, ROKA.com. Last one of the day here for a sec. Amp Human, we talk about this all the time. Talk about badass athletes. This is a cool story. So the one of the founders of AMP is this guy, Jeff Byers, who's Jeff Byers is just a bulldog. If he was selling paper clips, you'd be buying them. He was team captain for US. Do you know the story?
Yep.
This is great. So he was team captain on the USC football team when they played the University of Texas, then played in the league for 4 years, got hurt, went back to business school and started this business. The amount of benefit that I get out of PR Lotion is as I say all the time, I'm shocked. Like, I didn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. And then I just tried it, right? My dumbass finally got around to trying it, and it absolutely works. Just got a multi-million-dollar grant from the Department of Defense, the Air Force. Also working on new product. Vitamin D is about to launch. These guys and gals, Jeff and Erica, special shout out, Erica. Head on over to amphuman.com. There's our flow code. I don't have my paper. We got a buy code there, JB. Move 25% off. Head on over to amphuman.com, buy code, discount code, MOVE25.
And feel free to bring up that Texas SC game anytime you want.
Well, and Jeff doesn't like talking about it. And I was actually at that game.
I was too.
It was, it's one of the best football games of all time. I mean, that's why they keep you. There are nights you're just sitting around on your ass, and that game they just put it on.
I watched it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean that's because there's no other football to watch except last night. Yeah. Hello, Super Bowl champs are back.
Yep.
Probably some guys on the Chiefs and the Texans using PR Lotion for sure. Two teams the last two Super Bowls, the teams have used it. Anyhow, today, I know you like to go in order, George, but that was an exciting stage for me and an impressive performance by Dani Martinez. He clearly had this thing under control the whole time, which was, as you were watching him pull and pull and pull, you're like, this guy's either really strong or really stupid.
Yeah.
And he had it, man. He had it in the bag. And then, of course, on the GC side, big stories there. But we'll get into all that later. You thought it was fun, right, Georgie?
Yeah, it was a super exciting stage. Like I said earlier before we started the show, got a text message at 5:40 just wondering what my thoughts were on Jumbo setting such a hard pace in the first hour. Apparently, they went to the front and just started ripping people's legs off in the first hour of the race, which is kind of not very common for a team in the yellow jersey. So clearly they had a plan today. They wanted to make it hard, and obviously they slowed down after an hour after the breakaway was established, which I think part of their reasoning was perhaps things that we used to do back in the day was go hard and let a breakaway go that had no danger or can have no effect on our overall GC aspirations, which is a lot easier said than done. But if you're at the front controlling the pace and there's constant amount of attacks, strong guys like you saw today, I mean, that was some of the strongest guys in the race with Martinez, Roland, Nielsen Paulus, who's now becoming a big breakaway expert. He's been in the three major breakaways of the Tour de France, young American, first Tour de France. Super impressive to see.
Kid keeps trying.
So they started hard from the gun, and it was a very, very tough day for everybody.
By the way, 15,000 feet of vertical climbing.
That's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that is, folks, if you haven't ever gone out, I mean, that is a real, I mean, as for folks who live here, I mean, the Independence Pass is roughly 4,000. You'd have to do it.
Well, I just did it the other day by myself without you because you took the day off. So it was actually 1,400 meters of climbing. I did it with our chief engineer. I'm sorry. Ashish and I hammered it out in the cold, suffered.
Yeah, so you'd have to do it 3.5 times or whatever.
Which is insane.
That's insane. I mean, just a lumpy day. And if you look at how they must have started, but I mean, the storyline for me in terms of a team pulling or trying to rip the race apart was Ineos. And I'm still sitting here scratching my head going, what were they thinking? Right. And if I'm Jumbo Visma, so with Dumoulin, Sepp Kuss and Roglic back there going, have at it, buddy.
Well, today was the day they had to make a difference. They've been laying low and they've been following the attacks. I think in their head, they thought today they can make a real difference. You saw them set a super hard tempo midway through the race, and Yeah, I mean, it just didn't work out with them. I think they're scratching their heads after the stage today.
Oh, I mean, it's the worst result for them.
I mean, for the moment when I tuned in midway through the race, it's like, oh, now Ineos is showing up.
Right.
Here we go. Now they're going to say, step aside, boys.
Right.
And it looked that way for a while.
Right.
Until it blew up, until it didn't work.
Right, until it didn't. Exactly. And so they're probably sitting, again, we talk about it every day, this hanging out with Mr. Momentum, man. Imagine that bus ride home.
Yeah.
Right, we're going to make the race. We're going to make put Carapaz on the front, rip it apart, get Roglic isolated, and then Bernal can attack. And it was it was the reverse attack. It was, as they say in France, it was dans le cul, out the ass.
Well, that was the highlight. One of the highlights of today's stage is when Carapaz just attacked off the front, set a really mean tempo, and really just had not much effect on Jumbo. I think they lost one guy from that attack. You saw Tom Dumoulin come up and give him the LA look. We're like, how you doing?
Yeah, I was like,
I'm still here, and I'm going to set the pace. This is my job. What are you doing?
Yeah, I felt like it was the look was, it was like, all right, you done now? Carapaz pulling, and Dumoulin was like, you done? Because I'm going to go ahead. We're going to go now. Okay, this is, I mean, it really is. They are far and away the most dominant team in this race. And yes, I love moments like that. And I don't even think you have to know the sport that well to watch. I mean, you just see him look over, and it's just, and we see it in all sports, right? Where you just throw a little attitude out there. He just looked at him like, all right, here we go.
Which, by the way, for the viewers watching the tour, we've been in that situation. The mental blow to someone like Carapaz and Bernal, which all of a sudden they've been setting this really hard pace. Now they're down to 2, and their one guy does a mean attack. Jumbo still got 4 guys left, and they kind of roll up to him and say, we're still here, buddy, and we're going to keep doing the work. Mentally, that's really, really hard for Bernal, and perhaps that could have had a huge effect on him the last final kilometers when he lost the gap there.
Yeah, he's got to be the 36 seconds he lost to Roglic, who just, like a boss, right? Johan was right. The break went away and stayed away. I was, none of us, we missed all our predictions, but man, this kid is in control. Incredible.
Well, not only is he incredible, but Pogacar right now
so good.
Is the only guy attacking. He's the only guy attacking at the hardest point in the race, the only guy able to attack. Sure, Primoz has not had to attack, and you saw today he followed relatively easily. But right now, the only guy attacking during the most difficult periods of the race is Pogacar.
Right. And here's a kid who's 21 years old, soon to be 22, but in Johan sent us an audio clip. They interviewed him before the stage. And again, I cannot overstate this enough to have this level of calmness and coolness and confidence at 21 years old in a tough mountain stage. Here he goes. This is what he says.
Ready stage winner, today Pogacar. Today, your team last time, they tried to call you back on the mountain, on the Pyrenees. What's the goal for today? Will we see free racing of today Pogacar today?
Yeah, today it's a really tough stage. We did the recon also, so yeah, if I feel good today, I will try to gain some time back, but yeah, if I don't feel good, I will try to follow the best.
That's it. So that's amazing. So if I'm having a not so good day, I'll just follow the best.
Yeah. For being 21 years old, the amount of confidence his kids has. By the way, the interviewer was Bernard Eisel, old friend of mine, teammate of mine on HCC. Great guy, speaks like 6 languages. Was one of the patrons of the peloton right before he retired.
Yeah, everybody's your friend. We know that.
But Pogacar moves into second in the GC,
Yep.
and we've got 2 Slovenians potentially on the podium right now. Which
so only 44 seconds down. That, by the way, 40. I mean, if you have a bad day,
guys, I'm hearing whispers that potentially this team is happy that Pogacar lost that minute in the crosswind, so they don't have to control right now. That's the amount of confidence that's coming out of the people around that world, that circle right now. So they have a ton of confidence in this kid. As you saw, the kid is very confident in himself. This race is going to come down to the wire. Very exciting.
Because 44 seconds is, and again, I talked about yesterday, the last week of this tour is hard. All right, and don't forget the day before Paris is an uphill time trial. This kid beat Primoz Roglic in the Slovenian Championships. He clearly is climbing exceptionally well. If you pull back, I mean, if you just sort of game planned it or just sketched it out, he pulls back, here and there, 20, 30. All of a sudden, we got a TT of the of the greats. I mean, this is shit that you just all long for, right? And by the way, Slovenians first and second, third through sixth Colombians. So
and stage winner, vamos Colombia. By the way, I don't know if you guys remembered my little outburst during the Paris Sword last week when I said this is the podium of the Tour de France. I don't know, boys. It's looking more and more likely. Today, Quintana obviously had a bad crash, 90K into the race. So did Bardet, but he was still there. He moved into 5th place overall in the GC. So you got Primoz, Pogacar, and Quintana having a bad luck today. But still, those three guys, I don't know. They're coming out to be some of the strongest guys in the race.
That would be a baller call. I mean, you called it, and we will give you all the props in the world. And in fact, and it's everybody that watches or sees our socials and sees George. I mean, the guy is he's just a handsome man. He's
what does that have to do with anything?
I'm getting to it.
Okay,
because I found something for you. So and JB and I, we were old and gray and soft. We don't give a shit, what we look like. So we wear the headset that we wear. We call them the cans. So George didn't want to wear his cans today.
It messes up.
He thought
done with the cans until Alain speaks.
Yeah.
Or interviews, but other than that, I'm done with them.
Yeah, it messes up his look. But I actually found something. So I get this daily newsletter from Uncrate, and today they had a Louis Vuitton face mask, and it actually makes sense, George. I think that's probably why. See, you couldn't have the cans on with this Louis Vuitton face mask. Would you wear that out in public?
That may be me Monday, the 21st, traveling back to Greenville.
You don't have? I thought you had a jizzy.
No,
I
wish I had a jizzy. But if anybody wants to share one with me, feel free.
Everybody loves George. There'll be probably fucking 10 jets lined up to take his ass home when this thing is over. Because all you people, I show up and there's like, the Wright brothers are out there, maybe giving me a ride. God. Oh, man. What else?
You know who I think deserves a shout out is Schachmann, who we saw riding really well. And then Johan Bernal reminded me yesterday on the second show, which people should be listening to wherever you get your podcast. But he broke his collarbone just 4 weeks ago, and at the end of Lombardia.
Well, it was a race we covered, and it was a race that was one of the hardest races we've seen in a long time. They were, no more than two riders together, so he's out there all alone. Somebody led a car onto the course, and he either hit the car or the car hit him, broke his collarbone. And then you see him out there today, and you're like, damn, if this kid could pull this off. Of course, he had a team. They had the perfect situation. I mean, which speaks to the strength of Dani Martinez because, I mean, they had it totally covered. Now, having said that, when the road goes up 15%, you could have 5 teammates, and it doesn't matter. I mean, that's a hard finish.
But we were actually watching that, and I think we'd be remiss not to discuss Martinez a bit more. I mean, the ride he did today, jumping away on that second to last climb with Leonard Camera on his wheel, and Leonard could just sit on his wheel the last 15, 20 kilometers up and down. But Martinez just never let up, never even asked for a pull, which obviously he wasn't going to pull because his teammate was up the road. But when they caught his teammate, that's where you would think some cat and mouse starts happening. Martinez just stayed on the front, kept pulling.
Yeah.
And I thought at the time that was kind of an ignorant move. Somebody in the car was just telling him to keep going, but I didn't quite understand it. But obviously the guy was full of confidence and didn't think that he could lose. If you're riding that strong, you don't let up and you keep pulling with two guys from the same team on your wheel. You're full of confidence. Your legs are feeling good, and you're very confident in your final kick to the finish line.
Of course, has just won the Dauphiné Libre, which some would argue that he did win, so credit to him. But Primoz Roglic crashes there, abandons the race because of the crash. Smart move, I think. But he had it. In Georgia, this is one of the only times I've been right. I was like, no, this guy's got it. He wouldn't be sitting there. Nobody's that dumb. He wouldn't be sitting there pulling. And having those guys on your wheel, if you weren't just, and it's steep, it's hard, it's at the end of a 15,000 foot day, you can go 80%, right?
Yeah.
And you can go, and by the way, his 80%, as you saw, was enough to pop Schachmann or Bachmann, or how am I missing this? Schachmann, sorry.
Yeah.
These German names mess me up, but and he still had another gear. Right. So
yeah, what we're seeing now, not only that, you were pointing out the cadence of these guys. They're at 14, 15% grade, and they were doing 90 to 100 RPM. So we were all curious. If anybody knows the gearing, in fact, we can probably ask some of our people in the bunch.
You can.
what the gearing was, but it was just interesting to see how high their cadence was. Another thing to point out too is we're seeing some of these guys like Martinez, Sivakov, perhaps Dan Martin, that had bad crashes and Schachmann before the Tour de France or right and during the first couple stages of the Tour de France that were able to suffer through the first week, 10 days of the Tour de France and are now coming back to their normal fitness. I mean, it takes, when you crash in the Tour de France, it takes a shit ton out of you. And it's really hard to recover. And the level is so high, the racing is so high that any, little bit of an impediment like in a crash, depending how hard it is very hard to recover from. But these guys, we're going to see more and more of them in the last week of the Tour de France.
Yep. Johan was right. The break went away and stayed away.
Yep. That's, today, a day like today, it's super hard for a breakaway not to go. It'd be almost impossible for a team like Jumbo to keep everybody under control. So it's actually a good situation for them that a breakaway with non-GC threat guys got in there.
Can you fix your collar? It's actually really bugging me. And I meant, no, the back. Look at the back. The back is jacked up. I mean, a guy who cares as much about his look. I mean, that Louis face guard looked terrible with your. Now it's good, and now everything. It was really bugging me. And in fact, it's kind of why I was like, whoa. I was just tweaking out over here. I'm glad you got that.
You did seem a bit distracted.
I know. It was the collar. Right. Before we talk about tomorrow, because I do want to. I want to look at tomorrow. I think really two things. There's. It's what they would call an intermediate day, but I think the most interesting thing tomorrow, and we're going to get into this, is the competition for the green jersey, and it might actually get me out of bed early to watch that one green jersey intermediate sprint. But before we get to that, today's show also brought to you by PowerDot, talking about crashes and recovery. We saw this last year with Lawson Craddock and his heroic effort breaking his shoulder or whatever on the first or second day and hanging in there. If you ask Lawson, I think he'd probably tell you that one of the biggest secrets he had was the PowerDot, right? I mean, this device. And by the way, I mean, when if you're traveling for business or you're in the Tour de France, it's this small. I mean, you can take this shit, they could put it in their jersey, right? It's that small. We've loved this company for a long time, invested in it early on. I don't know if that's a disclosure or an endorsement, but we're big fans. And everybody, the whole team over there, Eric and Chase, the whole group, athletes not just in the Tour, but in Major League Baseball, NFL, PGA are using it. If you don't love it, 30-day money-back guarantee. Send it back. But here's the thing. You're going to love it. It absolutely works. Head on over to the PowerDot.com. There's the flow code, PowerDot.com/TheMove. And the discount code is TheMove. Last one of the day, our good friends over in LMNT. And by the way, before I talk about LMNT, I got a note yesterday from one of the founders. They're loving this. They're getting all the look. We only talk about people on here that we care about, believe in, stuff that we've pressure tested and use on a daily basis. Like I always say, we got no skin in this game, but this hydration product comes in these packets. Let's just look how simple this is, right? I sweat my ass off when I'm out working out. And so I need extra hydration. I always get behind on hydration. And then what happens, right? Recovery suffers, performance suffers, clarity suffers, all of these things. Also great partnership with Tim Ferriss, who knows a thing or two about a thing or two, as they say. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 grams of magnesium, no sugar, no coloring, no funky shit in there. And by the way, also with these guys, money back guarantee. And if you don't like it, keep it and give it to a salty friend. Head on over to drinklmnt.com/TheMove.
I did try the orange flavor yesterday, and that's probably my new favorite flavor.
The orange is the best.
So that's my new go-to.
Yeah, I love the orange. By the way, 4 different flavors, but the orange is I'm a fan of the orange. I should try it in a margarita. For real. I gave up margaritas. Did you know that, George? I gave them up, man. It was just the Lanceritas, and it has nothing. I was like, it's time to take a little break. It's time for Lance to take a break from the Lancerita.
Which is why you just brought up bringing it back with an
Well,
orange
I'm not saying I gave them up forever. At some point, I will go back to the Lanceritas, but I'm enjoying taking a little break. I think we all need a break from things. from time to time. So, hey, let's talk about tomorrow. It'd be interesting to hear what Johan has to say about tomorrow's stage. But as I look at, I don't think there's any GC shakeup here. So then you're like, all right, well, what's the race? Like, what's going to happen? Peter Sagan has stayed in the race. He clearly wants to keep chasing the green jersey. There's an early sprint at 38K. Look at here's our profile from the Velo News Tour Guide. That's sick. But what's interesting is this Cat 4 climb right before, and George, you know this stuff a lot better than I do, but this Cat 4 climb just before, ain't no speed bump, right? It's 1K at 8.5% right before, and then a fast downhill, and then the sprint. My question for you is, does Bora light that thing up, try to drop Sam Bennett so that Peter can get the points?
Look, I mean, that's 30-something K into the start. Tomorrow's going to be a super aggressive day. I don't need to go through the list of teams that have not won a stage today.
No, you did that yesterday. But by the way, one of them won a stage today.
One of them won a stage today.
At least now it's one less.
One less. So the rest of those teams, which is a lot, or their main goal right now is to win a stage. Of course, some of them have GC aspirations, but what does that mean? That means tomorrow is going to be a super, super aggressive start. Very hard day yesterday in the mountains. I would be surprised if Bora controls it to that sprint, but of course they can try to light it up on that climb. Even if there is a breakaway to get some points to get rid of Bennett there, but I'd be very, very surprised if the breakaway has not been established by that point yet.
Right. Wow. It would be, so
they'll take those. The breakaway would take those points.
Yeah, the breakaway would take the majority of the points, but Sagan can definitely make it over that category 4 and pick up some valuable points.
Yeah, I 30K is not that long, George. I mean, and
it's not the speed they've been going. They've been averaging 50K an hour the first hours. We're talking about 40 minutes.
I know, but
less.
There are other teams that will help. I don't know if I really want to.
Other teams are not going to help for the bonus sprint though.
Johan Brunel's going to know exactly what's going to happen. Every
well, there's going to be a breakaway tomorrow.
It's like, is the guy living a day ahead of all of us? How is this working, JB? I mean, what are you guys? The fuck are y'all drinking or eating or tasting? Like, what's happening? Why does he know everything?
And he knows these riders since they were juniors. He just sees things. That's what I always say. He sees things that the rest of us don't see.
Yeah. Well, I'll be curious to see what he thinks about specifically this, because I mean, if Sagan, it's clearly a big enough deal for him.
I won't do it justice, but to give you an example, like yesterday on the show with Johan in the Move feed, he was trying to explain to a ding-dong like me how you can get such great time gains on steep, punchy climbs versus the long slug, which is harder to control and recover and maintain. And that's what we saw with, Pogacar today when it's steep and punchy. The gains are greater without the effort. It seems like more effort to be steeper, but it's in fact not. Does that make sense?
The fact that Bernal, I mean, losing 35 seconds may not sound that big, but that's a huge blow. A lot more than what we all expected, and it was because of how steep that was and how hard his own team made it prior to that final climb. So I think today they're, like I said earlier, they're scratching their heads thinking, what do we do now?
Mm-hmm. So Johan's saying, I still want his opinion. He thinks Luis Leon Sanchez is going to win tomorrow's stage from the breakaway, but I want to know. I don't know why. I just want to know.
Stages like this are really hard to predict because it's so hard to get into these breakaways, and it requires luck and it requires a ton of aggression early on. So, I mean, like this morning we woke up. Of course, we knew there was going to be a breakaway when we woke up, but it's so hard to predict who's actually going to be there. And then, of course, when you wake up and they have 10 minutes ready, you know that somebody from the breakaway is going to win.
It's over. Right.
It's
I
over.
actually went back to bed for a little bit then, but he thinks the break, he just wrote back. He says he thinks the break will be gone by then.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Jan.
If he wants the green jersey, why wouldn't come on? They got to control the race.
See, here's the difference between Lance and I. He's never had to actually control situations like that.
That's true.
Which is, I keep saying over and over and over again how hard that is in the first hour of the Tour de France, where he's sitting on the wheels going, guys, don't let that guy go. So-and-so's at the road. Chase him down. Well, shit, you know how hard that is at the start of a race? So that's why I think, and Johan, who would also be in the car, dictating who we let go and all that, he knows how difficult it is. So I'm just thinking it'd be really hard for somebody to control that breakaway from getting away before that bonus sprint.
Time will tell. You know, and this is why, as a, you know, it was easy for me riding around France. I mean, I had eight guys in front of me, and so to college's credit, you just confirmed it's just easy. You know, racing in Texas and these local races are much harder. You're alone. You don't have 8 guys pulling you around, 8 guys you can boss around. It's just a lot harder. I hope, does college even listen to our show?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him
That's, you know,
since
that's
this year.
not a friend if he's not listening right now. Speaking of just, you know, we see things or people send us things. We have an image, and this is really relevant to this year's tour, as they were, you know, obviously last year's winner and the rider that a lot of us picked to win the overall. So you have, and I'm just going to set this up before you show you. So you have Egan Bernal, last year's winner, and then you have Primoz Roglic, who we all had as a favorite. But we found an image from 2016 from the Tour of Slovenia. Now, I just have so many questions about this photo. I mean, obviously, you see a young Egan Bernal when he was on Johnny Savio's team in Italy. And then on the right, Roglic, who was already a pro, had already had some results, won a stage in the Giro, so he was clearly just an invited guest. We found this image. And this just starts the whole list of questions. JB, can you help me with the short game? I love this rider, but I cannot approve of the holy jorts. Would you?
Yeah, he's pretty stylish and scrappy. I don't know.
Those are holes.
Yeah. I don't know. That may be trending right now. And
Well,
that was a
4
few
years
years
ago.
George is the fashionista.
Yeah, he's the handsome devil himself. What do you think? Could you pull that off?
I could not, but I could definitely see you wearing that plus the fanny pack with the wires hanging out.
And it would just be complete if you would let me borrow your Louis Vuitton face mask.
Exactly.
Can you imagine me rolling the holy jorts, the fanny pack, the cables, and the Louis face mask?
I need to go back on my prediction for tomorrow while you were doing your rant about what Roglic was wearing. After studying this course a bit more, and I think Johan would agree with me, if we were the GC team, we would probably try to keep the breakaway within a manageable distance over that second category climb, 60 kilometers into the race. Why? Because if someone like Greg Van Avermaet, Peter Sagan, makes it over that category 2 climb and then the next category 2 climb, there is a long drag up between 120 kilometers to 160 kilometers where a strong sprinters team, a guy who can climb, will definitely have a chance to, sprint for the victory. So there is a good chance
and do the work.
And do the work.
Yeah, that's
and somebody like Jumbo would want that because they would keep that breakaway close to give these guys hope that they can catch the breakaway, and then they can just sit on the wheels the rest of the stage which would be really, really crucial for Sunday's stage.
Dude, I mean, that was your broken clock moment of the day. Twice. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know this or realize this, a broken clock is right twice a day. Buddy, that is amazing. And in fact, you know what I'd say to that?
Boom.
Wait, the boys in the back over here got me a gift. You know what I say to that idea? Boom. That is, that's a damn good idea. And you could, yeah, no.
But that theory suggests that Sagan and Bennett could be duking it out at that sprint too.
Well, no, it's less likely that somebody like Bennett, you saw him today, he was swinging really early, will make it over that long category 2 climb. But if he does, in the unlikely event he does, then somebody like Bora, NCCC, can set the pace on that category 3 climb, try to drop him there, and then get rid of him and only worry about the climbing sprinters, so to speak.
Let me throw this out there. Does Sam Bennett finish the Tour de France, George?
Whoa, Johan just dropped some serious boom on my theory for tomorrow. I'll let you read that, Lance. Since I need to always be politically correct,
yeah,
I can't read
I'll
that.
let you. I'm just reading the message. I'm not delivering the message. I'm just reading it. He says, George, you're right, but Jumbo doesn't have that experience and mindset. Now that is a big statement, and I'm going to leave it there because JB, I want you to pick it up with him and let him expand on that. That's a. I mean, I'm gonna have to pull out the bat again for that one right here, right, y'all? Boom, Johan just dropped some boom on our asses. Wow. But does Sam Bennett finish the Tour? That's a question.
Well, I mean,
By the way, you got
see-
to finish to get the
I don't
green
see
jersey.
why not. At this point in the race, somebody like Sam Bennett, Caleb Ewan, they have 3, 4, 5 guys surrounding them. Their only job is to get them to the finish line. If they don't make it in the breakaway, their mindset changes to like, okay, I got to stay with Sam Bennett.
Got
Perfect
to stay within the time cut.
Yeah, perfect example of that.
He
was-
looked because he was suffering like a dog today. You got to stay within the time cut.
You got to say, but if you can suffer through and get in a good gruppetto, then it's easier because the gruppetto knows. Usually, the gruppetto knows what time they need to stay in to make it to the time cut, through the time cut. So he just needs to find that group and stay with them.
Love it. What are the people telling us? JB, I have one. Somebody sent me a note that is about you, JB.
All right.
This fellow here, Mark Severy says, hi, the Move team. Thanks for putting the show together 3 times a day. I've enjoyed it the past 3 or 4 tours. Clearly, Mark speaks Spanish if he likes the 3rd show. JB, you are the glue that keeps the show together, on track and on point. In the Stage 11 episode with Lance, they asked you for your pick on the Stage 12 winner, but you thought the listeners didn't come to hear your pick. I'm here to say that we do want to hear your thoughts and opinions. You bring a different perspective as a viewer and a fan. Plus, you might have more success than anyone else this year who hasn't been picking, or than somebody else this year who hasn't been picking very well. That would be me. And in fact, Mark, you know what? I'm going to give you one of these for that. Okay. All right. Boom. That was a fucking burn notice to me. And you're right. I cannot pick a winner to save my life.
Well, it's very nice, Mark, but then it's really cute until I pick someone who's not even in the race.
In the race, exactly right. Oh, God.
So I know when to keep my mouth shut.
I think.
You want some comments?
Yeah.
On my end?
Yeah.
This is great. Hey, guys. This is Chino from Buenos Aires.
Whoa.
I'm getting surgery.
Where is that? I know where that is.
That's a recurring theme. I'm getting surgery tomorrow, Friday afternoon. That's today. To fix my left collarbone I broke on a training ride on Saturday. Wish me luck and see you in the douches.
Buena suerte, amigo. Buena suerte.
Suerte.
Suerte, tío.
This is from Rich. I have a question about the super tuck position.
Oh, no.
Like Lance, it always makes me uncomfortable to watch. Do you think the UCI will ever take steps to ban it like they did with the praying mantis TT position? Or do you think we'll ever see dropper post on the road bikes to get a similar lower profile without as much of a front weight bias? Rich,
What is the prey mantis TT position?
Remember they had Boardman and Graham O'Brien had isn't that right? The one that was.
Yeah, but that's an actual piece of equipment that goes on the bars. Like they're still doing the TT position. You saw Hershey does it all the time without any sort of equipment. So the riders, if you can adapt to a position without changing any equipment on the bike, I highly doubt that it'll be banned.
Right.
So no, the
I
answer
agree.
is no.
I think something at some point is going to happen that's not going to be good, but I don't.
Yeah, when someone's in the super tuck and goes over a cliff, that's when it'll change.
God. Wow. What's. Man.
Sorry. That came out a little
Hang on a
harsh.
second. That was heavy.
All right, next comment from Old Man Clemens. We were talking yesterday about longest rides, which was very funny, by the way. Lachlan Morton just completed a 451-mile ride in 41 hours and 24 minutes.
That's because he's a freak. I mean, that's man. What? Why? Well, first, I mean, Lachlan's amazing talent and a sweet kid. What happened? What happened when you woke up and you're like,
It was some
I'm going to
event.
ride 450 miles today. Just because. Was it a race or an event?
It's an event. And I read about it in Velo News, our media partner.
Oh, really?
Had a good write-up on it, so you should check it out. It was interesting. Looked like pretty epic. Cool roads in Spain somewhere. And I think he ended up crushing everybody, obviously.
Do you sleep during that? I mean, 41 hours, you'd have to take a little cat nap, I would think.
Insane.
Ugh.
Insane.
Yeah.
Here's a comment from David. Hey, guys, I see a lot of fragments off the Move show on Flemish TV.
Ooh.
That says a lot about the quality and relevance of the show. Keep up the good work.
That's awesome.
That is cool. I mean, look, the Belgians and the Flandrian, they as they're called, they know a thing or two about cycling. So,
and actually, I don't even know if we're allowed to say it, but might as well. I think we were invited to go to Belgium to do 1 or 2 stages in Belgium for one of the big media outlets there, and obviously it's a very tough task to pack up our whole team and get them out there to Belgium. But we appreciate the invite,
right? Especially in the middle of a global pandemic. Yeah. But that's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
One more comment and one more question. Alexander writes, watching from Missouri. I met George at the Tour of Missouri when I was younger. My dad and I watch the show from different states and bond over our passion for the sport. And Lance, keep up the great work.
Thank you. And now the question is, does he pronounce it Missouri or Missouri? Because like true people from people really from Missouri, I grew up saying Missouri, but like locals
say Missouri.
Missouri. And I'm like, where's the? I don't see an A at the end. How does that I turn into an A?
You think
Missouri.
I would know that, considering I was the winner of the Tour of Missouri? How to correctly pronounce it?
Right, you would think.
And one more question from Tim. It says, in an alternate universe where Lance were running the UCI.
This is truly an alternate universe.
Do you think it would be feasible and more competitive for teams to have a salary cap like most major league sports do? They could spread out the higher end talent, allow for more teams to get exposure, and would make for a more exciting race. What would Lance do? That's from Tim, who is a Hincapie ambassador.
Nice.
Thanks, Tim.
I mean, it's a great question. We'd need a 3-hour podcast to go through what I would do as the head of the UCI. Because actually, what I would do, and I'll just make this, I won't talk about this for 3 hours, I promise. But the first thing I would do was get rid of myself. We don't need the UCI. The UCI needs to go away. Right? This is a professional sport, just like the NFL, MLB, F1. You don't need the UCI. Right? This is a Tour de France. Right? So you do not need to be. They should not be beholden to the UCI, to the IOC, to all of these other governmental agencies with a bunch of people that sit on their ass who don't know anything about bike racing, about what it means to suffer. Just be F1, okay? You don't need them, right? So you start with that. You then you start to democratize the sport when it comes to sharing revenue, the riders, the teams, et cetera. Look, we're not going to have a sport if all these teams are sitting around dependent upon. Look at all the teams that are on the ropes, right? A lot of them. If those sponsors go away, the team goes away. There's no. If you talk about other sports, salary caps, et cetera, whether it's the Premiership, whether it's the NFL, the TV revenue alone gets you. They make money, right? So let's start talking about sharing in all the upside. Get all of these boats rising with the tide, but to his question, Gap?
It was Tim.
Sorry, Tim. Yes, I mean, if you look at, and we talked about this the other day, Ineos, Jumbo, et cetera, endless budgets, right? They can afford whatever they want. They can hire whoever they want. And then you get these smaller second division, third division teams. There's no way, right? So if you did spread it out, yeah, I mean, it would make the sport more exciting, but we got to get through like 10 things before we get to an issue of salary cap.
Well, I don't know how real or not this is. We probably need to look it up. But I heard the other day the revenue of the Tour de France, the ASO, has gone up 20% for the last 5 or 10 years. And we still have teams just scraping by trying to make it. There's just definitely a disconnect there, and something needs to change.
And by the way, it's $500,000 to win the Tour de France. When I won the Tour de France 20 years ago, take a guess how much it was to win.
$500,000.
$500,000. It hasn't changed a fucking penny.
Nope.
So right there, just on its face, you're like, all right, that makes no sense.
Where if you watch something like the Roland Garros tournament, it was about 500,000 10, 15 years ago, and now it's a couple million.
I watched the FedEx Championships last week. Dustin Johnson wins the FedEx Cup. He wins one guy wins $15 million. Go back 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Kids, like I said, God dang it, this is a 3-hour podcast. You're getting me all fucking riled up right now.
I think we need to go back to today's stage. We skimmed over, which is very unfair, and we skimmed over how strong Nielsen Palace is right now. He has not only been in all 3 breakaways, the major breakaways of Tour de France. He teed up the win for Martinez today. He went away early, gave up his chance for the stage win. Let Martinez, once Palace went away, Martinez was able to sit on the wheels, which at the end of a really hard stage like that is game changer. As you saw today, he had so much power left at the end. The other thing is
he going to win a stage?
I mean, the way they're using him right now, it's tough to say. But he has got some great power. Super proud to watch him do so well. Being a young American, first time in the Tour de France, not scared, doesn't have any fear, and just keeps impressing me more and more. The other thing is France. I feel like France had a big loss today with Bardet kind of crashing with 90K to go.
And
Gil Martin getting
Guillaume
dropped.
Martin lost time.
And then Colombia, what a big day for Colombia. Winning the stage, and then the top 4 guys in the first 6 overall of the Tour de France. I don't know if you guys remember the government of Colombia.
I thought we'd get in trouble for playing this song.
We're not gonna. Are we gonna play it?
This is I just can't play the hits. This is royalty free.
Vamos. But anyway, the president of Colombia and the government set up a whole charter for not only the best professional cyclists in Colombia, but a lot of their professional athletes to get over to Europe. As we all know, airports, the pandemic has shut down many airports across the world. So got all of their athletes to Europe, and look, it's paying dividends for them now. They got 4 guys in the top 6 in the overall of the Tour de France.
Let me ask you a question. So we have 4th of July, right? That's America's birthday. France's birthday is, and I think I'm getting this right, is the 14 de Juillet,
Which
but
is
that's July
tomorrow.
But that's where we're.
Okay.
See, that's where we're off. See, I was just thinking about this. We're in September.
Oh God, you're
And I'm
right.
like, and so I
Yeah,
full
totally,
admission, I just completely brain farted, but I caught it because I was thinking, oh my God, when is the day where the France are going to come out and wear
Wow.
all their outfits, paint their hair, all this shit, tape their bars, the blue, blanc, rouge, all this. We are so off our game. That's in July, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
We're in now
We're
September
off.
because I looked at it, I was like, oh, the 14th, it's a rest day. What are all these French guys going to do on the rest day? But you know what? We missed it by a couple months.
I was
So
thinking the same thing.
the 6 inches of snow the other day didn't remind you that it was September.
You know what?
I'm still in
This is
shock over that.
I have PTSD about this. It started to snow again yesterday. Anyhow, all right. This race is getting exciting. This for the GC, man, this is anybody's bike race. One bad day, one bad climb, and people are going to lose this tour, which is, and then to finish, with that final hard uphill TT, anybody's game. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Wait, but
there's more.
But like the Ginsu knife commercial. But wait, there's more. Here is George winning the Tour of Missouri. Wow.
Which, by the way, if you guys see that trophy, we had it like in this little statue at the bottom of my staircase. My 6-year-old son at the time, who was 4, and dropped one of his toys right on it, and that trophy just shattered all over my hallway in my house. So unfortunately, I do not have that trophy anymore.
Was that a dark day in the Hincapie house? The Tour of Missouri trophy just shattered?
Shattered.
Fuck. Man, talk about PTSD. All right, kids. See y'all tomorrow.